Right, now that we're logged in into our dataspace, let's try and create some documents. So if you click this blue create button on the top left, you'll see there are two main document types in LinkedDataHub. It's container and item. So they correspond roughly to folders and files in the file system, although these are completely virtual. They're only triples in the database. So let's try to create a container first. And let's call it UI container because we're creating it through the user interface. And I'll show you next how to do the same thing but from the command line. So this UI container will be a child container of the root now, and you can always see this in the breadcrumb bar right here. And containers can have children, which are other containers or items. So let's create an item just for the sake of it. And items are the leaves of the tree, so to speak. They cannot have any children documents themselves. And you can fill some HTML content in this editor if you want. So now you can see UI item is a child of the UI container. So now let's go to our shell. And this will currently only work with the Linux shell or a Linux shell running in Windows. Can also work like the Windows subsystem for Linux. So let me show you. We're in the scripts folder of your LinkedDataHub fork, and I can list. Yeah, you can see all the scripts here. And let's try to create another container. And if you just execute the script without any arguments, this is what you get, an explanation with usage. So we need to fill out the certificate and the password, and these come from the configuration in the .env file. And then the metadata of the container itself, like the title and what it is its parent and so on. Optionally, you can change the query of the container too. So I have an example here. Let's create a container with the owner certificate. The password was changed in our configuration. The base is the URI root URL of the dataspace. Let's call it a CLI container for a command line interface, because we're creating it that way. And the parent will be the root. And the last one is, again, the root URL is where we're submitting the request. And let's see what happens. So we can see curl is executing our request. And yeah, the response code indicates that it should be created. So let's go back to the root container, and let's see if we have created a new one. And indeed, you can see now we have two children containers on the root. The one we created here using the editing interface, and the one we created from the command line.